Good afternoon. Tonight I'm going to try for you guys Loch Lomond 12-year-old. It's a Highland single malt Scotch whiskey. It's 12 years old. It says smooth to perfection. It is non-chilled filtered. It is 46% alcohol by volume. I bought this back in the end of, no, it was actually the beginning of July when I was in Colorado on a trip. I hadn't seen it here. I think it's here now where I live. I paid in the mid-30s if I remember correctly. It wasn't very expensive. It was, it was unusual. I hadn't seen it before, so I thought, I didn't really know anything about it, so I bought it. So anyway, it doesn't say anything about coloring. It just says it's non-chill filtered. Loch Lomond Distillery itself, I think, started in 65 or 66, so it's a fairly new distillery. They also make grain whiskeys there. They have a column still, and they have refractors on their pot stills for their necks. So I guess there's a little hubbub with the Scotch Whisky Society over there about it. I don't know the particulars. I've just read a little bit here and there on it. Anyway, it does give us some good information on the back. The exquisite 12-year-old single malt is a deep fruity character of peach and pear, layered with vanilla sweetness and the characteristic hints of peat and smoke. Found in Loch Lomond whiskies, aged in 3 types of casks. This is what I found was interesting: bourbon, refill, and recharred. These whiskeys are brought together, delivering a perfectly balanced single malt under the watchful eye of Michael Henry, our master distiller. Loch Lomond 12-year-old is a non-chill filtered to keep things as nature intended. So if he was going to keep it as nature intended, he'd say non-colored too. But nonetheless, wait, I digress. I read their tasting notes, but I've already got my notes, and they're a little different, but surprisingly somewhat the same. I didn't realize there was their tasting notes on the back. I mean, I guess I should have. But anyway, and I'm going to try it tonight for the first time, even though I've drank out of this glass. For the first time, I'm going to use it in a review. The Denver and Liley whiskey glass. It's a very neat glass. They got a bourbon glass out now. I'm going to, of course, have to buy since I spent the money for this one. It is really a unique glass. It's a medium amber color. It's got fairly good beady legs on it. It's a non-chill filter, and I think is showing up there, leaving some of the oils in place. And it has a good nose on it. You get that maltiness. That maltiness comes right at you. And it's sweet maltiness. I also get a tea. I get sweet figs, I get a pear, and I get caramel. There is some cinnamon in there, and there's a trace of smoke. There's also a trace of what I call moldy hay, like you get out of the barn. And that's going along with the maltiness in it. That's where the maltiness is really coming out. Again, in comes a sweet maltiness. Oh, it's just so sweet. And the palate is actually much better than the nose on this one. The nose is good. The palate, that maltiness really comes through really well. Very rich, very good mouth coating. A creamy mouthfeel on this one. The caramel. Oh, the caramel, the pear, that vanilla along with that malty and that sweet vanilla and that maltiness, they are really working in conjunction with this. Also get a sour, like a blood orange, a slightly sour orange. That's coming through too as well for me. Now it finishes with that sourness, but your sweetness in the beginning and your sourness, they kind of juxtapose each other as you go through this. But it's going to finish, it's going to mid to late through the palate into the finish. You are going to have more sour than sweet. So understand this is pretty sour as it starts down. But it's not that, oh, I don't know how to say it. It's not a bad, it's a citrus sour. That's what it is. It's not a sourness like something, like soured milk or something. It's not like that. It's a citrus sourness. And to me, it really is great. Excuse me. And then in the very tail end, I get a faint char, the charred barrel. And that charred barrel and that smokiness. And it's not a heavy smokiness. It's not like you get with any of the Islas or some of the other peated stuff. We're not talking a peat style smokiness here. We're just talking that faint Scotch smokiness you get a lot of times with most Scotches. Not all, but a lot of them do provide you with that, especially on the blend. Some of the more lightly smoky blended Scotches, this comes through sort of in that realm. That's how the smokiness is delivered. You know, for 30-some bucks for a 12-year-old, I really don't have a lot overly bad to say about it. I don't find it unappealing at all. If you are if you find sourness offensive, you're probably not going to like this Scotch. But if you don't mind that little citrus sourness as it goes through, which does not bother me, you're going to like this. It's when it gets bitter that I have issues. This is not bitter. It is sour. That, to my palate, that makes the difference. So what score would I give it? I give it an 85 out of 100. It's definitely an 85 out of 100. It would be definitely a repurchase for in the $30 range where I think it's like 35, 36 bucks. That's what caught me by surprise. Maybe it was 38. It might have been 38. It's been a couple of months and I didn't really pay that much attention, but I remember it was in the mid to upper $30 range. We'll leave it at that. But I would definitely repurchase again at that price. I'd have no qualms or issues. So, Loch Lomond, 12-year-old Scotch. 85 out of 100. Fairly good stuff in all honesty. It's a good 12-year-old. It's not great. It's not a great Scotch, but it's a good Scotch. It's a very drinkable Scotch. We'll leave it at that because I'm starting to ramble. Remember, the spirit in your glass is not running from you. Take your time, sip it, enjoy it. You'll be better for it. And I really like my Denver and Liley glass. I really do. I'm going to have to get the bourbon glass now. With that, I'll sign off. Everybody have a good evening.